Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. If you would like to call in, the number is 585-633-7487. If you want to call in with your hate mail and whatnot, the number is 585-633-7487. We're back here with Johnny Morris. Johnny, how you doing right now?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Well, I mean, that's a good sign. I mean, most guests don't make it through the second break.
Right? Yeah, no, I'm sure that they don't. It's tough with you sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I'm a bit of an a-hole, as they call us.
That's all right.
Well, okay, Johnny, the A's fans, actually, there's more Kansas City fans and then Pirates fans that were complaining about the playoff format as it is. If you are a wild card, if you're listening to the show and you're finding out that this is the playoff format now, you should probably not be listening to a sports show. But Kansas City Royals fans, before they made their comeback, they were complaining, this is unfair, it shouldn't be a one-game play-in to make the wild card. Pirates, same thing when they got blown out. What a loser mentality. If you're a wild card, you're lucky to be in the playoffs at all. If you want a 5-game series or you want a 7-game series, win your damn division. Am I wrong on this?
No, I hear you. Absolutely. You know, it's.
And I hate to interrupt you, John. But also, you know, these people, they're complaining about the one-game playoff. And it's like, okay, like, you know, what are you supposed to do, a 3-game playoff and all these teams sit out 3 days? I mean, that would just be a boring 3 days. I mean, it would just kill any momentum MLB had just having, you know, 6 games in 3 days. You know, I just don't see a 3-game playoff for one spot being necessary. I think it's boring. One game is more exciting.
Yeah, it absolutely is more exciting, you know, and I was kind of against it, you know, initially, but, you know, after you kind of see it all play out, you know, it absolutely ends up being some really entertaining baseball. You know, unfortunately it wasn't for Pittsburgh, but, you know, the biggest thing here, I think, is that it is tough to say, you know, to lead it all down to game 163. But if you go and add, you know, make it a 3-game series, then again, you know, you have all these other teams, or some teams would appreciate the time off that they had. So some other guys can get healthy and, you know, kind of get their rotation set up. But then again, you know, these guys don't want that extra time off. You know, they want to pitch every 5th day. And for some of these guys, they would rather pitch every 4th day, you know, and so it's a tricky thing. But, you know, I think the way it comes down to it, you know, it ends up being, you know, a good format. It might be something that they might revisit now during the off season, you know, with the new commissioner and everything involved. So we'll see how it shakes. But, you know, overall, you know, it is what it is. It's a one-game plan, and it does lead a team, you know, that does end up advancing, you know, at a major disadvantage. You know, hence, you know, James Shields, you know, just pitching now in the series. But overall, it is what it is. And I don't know. I don't have any problem with it. Just knowing for the fact that at least you are getting some entertaining baseball, you know, and that way it does, you know, it's a little bit extra for you, you know.
Well, and I think there should be a mandate made that if you make this wild card game, it has to be in a small market, because I don't think this game would be fun in a New York or L.A. or anything like that. It's kind of fun in, you know, Pittsburgh at the beginning until they got the doors blown off. That was an awesome crowd. Kansas City was awesome. Yeah, I think Oakland would have been pretty sweet. You know, Cleveland. I think it needs to be there should be a mandate that it has to be in a small market, because that's a perfect type of atmosphere for a one-game playoff, is a small market crowd.
It does make sense, you know, at least in the sense where, you know, you're able to maybe bring some extra money into one of those smaller markets, give them a chance to sell, you know, some postseason gear, you know, whatever else. But I think when it really comes down to it, we just got to look at, you know, who has the best record. That's really what it should be about, is at least, getting the best teams into the playoffs. But even if it's, say one of the wild card teams is the best record, and then the other one would be the best record of, smaller markets, but you have to find a way to determine that. But then again, there might be a team that has a better record than them, and then they're getting left out. So then you kind of start getting into the college football, debate. But at least in terms of strength of schedule and all that fun stuff. So I don't know. I think pretty much the way it is really the only way they would be able to do it.
Okay. Last thing before we get into the National League, best out of 5. That's been the way it has been since, 97, 95, 96 or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now everybody's complaining because the Angels we're down 2-0, the Tigers are down 2-0, the Nationals are down 2-0. What? I don't, if you're the best team, win. And it's not like a 2-0 series deficit is anything, it's difficult to come back from, but it's not unheard of. Now there's all these fans complaining about a 5-game series. Do you think a 5-game series is unnecessary for the, for the first round? I don't think it is, and I think the NBA should go back to a 5-game series in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Really, that's the way hockey should be too. I don't think it's a big deal. Why are people complaining about this?
Yeah, I really can't tell you that. I mean, when you look at it, out of the teams that you mentioned, all the teams, aside from Baltimore, had home field advantage. When you look at Washington and the Angels and the Dodgers, who all, are down 0-2, and I don't know what's going on with that Kansas City game right now, but, when you really look at it, I guess this is a crazy article that I ended up reading, not too long ago, but it was talking about, in 2014, this last regular season, the home team won 52.7% of their games, and that's considerably less than it has been. So, the advantage, for most of the, I would say the advantage, but playing, obviously fairly and, unusually well, is the road teams. And that's pretty much what you've seen so far. When you are able to win, at least one of those first games in that 5-game series, you're able to kind of snake, home field advantage for sure, while otherwise you win the next couple. That works out just fine. I think it, it absolutely gives, everybody, the home team the advantage, leading the, having it, to be able to start off the first 2 at home and then wrap up the series at home. I really can't, you can't be alternating cities, every other game, so that doesn't make much sense. So it's the most efficient way to do it, when you really look at it.
Well, do you think the answer is doing a 2-3, where you do the lower seed or whatever has the first 2 at home, and then the higher seed has 3 at home? Or I
just didn't like that format.
Because if you go if you go the 7-game series in the first round, you're going into November, and who the hell wants to play a November game in New York or Detroit?
Oh, right. And I think the other biggest thing too, when you look at it, is the fact that people were complaining a lot, last year with the way they added the extra wild card. It was all kind of last minute, and then it ends up going, where it's 2-3, where the home team gets the advantage in the last 3. But, that's not really a home field advantage. Home field advantage is starting off at home, being able to, get on top of that road team in, at least one of those first 2 games, and then being able to finish off the series at home if you're able to maintain. But, when you start off on the road, then you're going into, say you lose those first 2 games with the lower seed on the road, and then you go home for, the last 3, you still got to win that first game back at home. If you don't, then you're done. And that's not really a home field advantage. Home field advantage is being able to go up 2-0 at home, and then being able to wrap up at home.
Well, the whole thing with I really don't think home field makes that much of a difference in baseball. Now, I think people overrate home field advantage in baseball. We've seen it the last few years. It just doesn't make that big of a difference. Yeah, the crowd can get into it and whatnot. It just comes down to I mean, who has a couple more? Who has a better bullpen? Who has a couple more scrappy hitters? With the Giants and whatnot. It really doesn't come down to the crowd at all, because the Giants home crowd has really never played a factor. The Red Sox crowd never really played a factor. I mean, you just look at the teams that have won the last few years. The crowd really never played a factor in how they won. It was just, if you have a good bullpen and you have a couple more scrappy hitters than the other team, that's who wins the series. That's what it comes down to. It doesn't come down to the crowd at all. And
I think it does sometimes.
Bullpen travel. That's it.
Right. No, I think the fans do play a part sometimes, especially with some of these younger teams. At least for Kansas City, the home field, when they have played at home, it's helped them out. Where at least the crowd has been so supportive, for the younger guys. Especially with some of the guys getting their first postseason experience. It does kind of help them out. And then again, when you're on the road and you are one of those younger teams, if it gets too loud, you might get rattled. And, I think that does kind of come into play. But, it's kind of hard, at least in baseball, to kind of put any kind of measure, on how much the fans kind of play into it. Football is a little bit different. Look at the Seattle Seahawks, a completely different team on the road than they are at home. But, when it comes down to it, I think, it can't affect them one way or another, but just not monumentally. Bravo.
Yeah, it looks like we're having technical difficulties with Bob now.
Correct.
Oh, Bob, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
And I dip into the shadows.
He fell off his chair.
God damn it. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
If you're talking to the microphone, that'd be great.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic radio right here.
Absolutely.
Let's get a quick update.
To hear Bob breathe right now.
Let's get a quick update of what's going on right now in the world of sports. The Baltimore Orioles swept the Detroit Tigers 2-1 to complete their 3-0 whitewashing of the Tigers. The Kansas City Royals leading the LA Angels 8-2 in the bottom of the 7th. Kansas City leading that series 2-0, putting the Angels on the proverbial ropes. In the NFL tonight, the New England Patriots leading the Cincinnati Bengals 34-10, because everyone saw that coming after last week, with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter there.
I think I am back. Am I back, guys?
You sound crisp and clear and as healthy as I've ever heard you.
Well, I'm not healthy, but I am back. And I don't know what the hell happened, but I am back, guys. What the hell were we talking about, Johnny?
We were talking about the fans factoring into the ball games here, and I basically just said that, sometimes it does, and it all depends on, who's out there on the ball field and, what their experience level is, how they're able to handle the pressure. Sometimes the fans can affect that and put a little bit more pressure on on a particular player, but overall, I don't think, plays you can really measure, how much they do affect, Major League Baseball games.
National League-wise, got the Nationals down 0-2. What is your take on what Matt Williams did with Jordan Zimmerman, taking him out with 2 outs in the 9th? This is the talk. I can't really, he overmanaged. Big deal. It happens. Big deal. I mean, I'm sure he's done it before in the regular season. It's magnified in the postseason. What's your take on Matt Williams